Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another Chelsea preview, predicted 11, and all sorts of things. But almost more importantly today, Chelsea news, Chelsea transfer news, Chelsea contract news, all sorts of madness has just come out in the last, half an hour. So going from basically not knowing what to discuss, what to put in the thumbnail, I would have had about 15,000 things to put in the thumbnail, but now it's been already long done. So now, my apologies, the main topics aren't actually on the thumbnail. But we'll get to that. Tried to squeeze it in the title. There's a lot to get through today, so I won't even hold you up with all the longest of waffle of intros. We're joined by two very special guests. One actually new guest to the channel, which I'm very excited for. Obviously, part of the back post, which you might have seen on YouTube. The link is down in the description. But of course, Jay, is your surname actually Tomlinson? Is that what the thingy stands for, like your Twitter thing?
It's Tomlin, so TMLNIS. It's really confusing. I did it years ago. I regret it hugely. But yeah, so it's Tomlins.
Fair dues. Well, close enough. Tomlins, you know.
Yeah, same thing, mate. Don't worry about it.
But of course, first of all, thank you for joining us. And secondly, how are you feeling about Chelsea these days? 7-0 win. United got, mugged off yesterday. It's a good time at the moment, isn't it?
Mate, it's a great time to be a Chelsea fan, and it's a better time to be doing content about Chelsea. I think when I started doing all this stuff, Chelsea were doing it in a ropey moment, so it's quite good to be on top a little bit at the moment and be talking about it online, enjoying myself a little bit. So I'm having a great time, mate.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, and we'll talk a lot of Chelsea and other things today. And of course, as you can clearly see on screen, we're also joined by Mr. Craigo28 Football. Again, link is down in the description. Ian, thank you for joining us again. I know you were here the other day for the preview, but like I messaged you, I just enjoy doing previews with you. So I thought, why not message Ian again? So let's get that involved. Of course, we're going to talk about Manchester United. He's also made a video about, Man United losing. It's quite funny. So go check that out. Link it to his channel down in the description so you can head over to that video. But Ian, how are you doing, first of all, after United's battering yesterday, after our beautiful win on Saturday, which of course you were at? And, well, I suppose I've quickly just informed you about some of the news that came out, even though you were kind of unaware until that point. Any sort of immediate feelings?
Well, the only thing I can immediately say is I want to comfort Mr. Tomlin. So everyone calls me by my last name. So trust me, I know how stressful it is when people can't even get your name right. A lot's kind of happened. I'll be honest with you, a lot of it I kind of thought would happen. It's just I didn't know obviously when. We'll come on to it in a little bit more in more detail later on, but the contract stuff seems to be a little bit of a nightmare, and I kind of thought it would be. I just didn't see it being a problem today.
No, definitely not today. And I mean, hey, Ollie just put it here in the chat already, but he's a member, by the way. So if any of you want to become a member, there's a join button underneath or a link down in the description. He said here, shocking long-term planning. Aspie, Silva, Rudiger, Christensen all got 7 months left on their contract, and Chalobah only 1 year more. Well, at least with Chalobah, we heard the other day that they're on the verge of agreeing a new contract. But that's what the situation was with Christensen until, half an hour ago, because the last I heard about it from anyone really reliable was Matt Law, when he said it's basically all but done. And that was, a month ago at this point, maybe 3 weeks. And we haven't really heard anything since then. Now, Nizar Kinsella, obviously from Goal.com, comes out and says, Chelsea exclusive, contract exclusive, whatever he called it. Christensen's representatives and Chelsea's representatives haven't been in contact for over 2 months because their contract negotiations have stalled over the wages offered to him being way too low, because it still keeps him as one of the lowest earners. Now, the first thing I will say on that quickly, this is the problem when you're not a one-man team, kind of like we were under Hazard. Then you can't just pay him a lot of money and everyone else is fine not being a lot of money. If all of a sudden 75% of the team play great, 75% of the team will want big money. And then if your club doesn't want to pay half the team big money, then I guess there's got to be problems at some point. I guess that's what we're kind of learning right now. I guess that's just that's just kind of the problem. It is true. Fabrizio Romano did say AC was kind of done, and that was including today. He did say that, but also, I mean, I don't want to not a dig by Ed Fabrizio at all, but obviously it's one tweet. When Matt Law said it was a whole article. So that's like kind of indifferent, in-depth reporting on what the contract negotiation situation is. But yeah, also, Antonio Rudiger, DiMartio, were you here for that when we spoke about this, Ian, when we spoke about Rudiger the other day? Was that with you?
No, I don't think I was.
Well, regardless, so DiMartio said a few days ago that he'll join one of 4 clubs, which is like...
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, PSG, Juve, and somebody else, including Tottenham, which is obviously hilarious. But yeah, he was put in the mud. As I said when we spoke about this on the channel, I was like, well, Di Marzio was obviously great for Lukaku, but that's because Lukaku played in Italy. So he had his sources there and was good with that. Now, all of a sudden, he's talking about a Chelsea player from England. His track record isn't very good. And that was basically confirmed today because Fabrizio Romano came out clearly and said, well, he wants to stay. There hasn't been any advancements in the talks, but he still made it very clear that he wants to stay. And it's not like he's already basically, in his head decided that he's going to go abroad or elsewhere or whatever else you want to call it. So that's a positive. Before we get into knew who else could join us. Let me just get to you first, Jay. Christensen, Rudiger, I mean, Oli Conte said it there. Aspi, Silva as well. Chalobah only one more year. What do you make of these whole contract situations?
Yeah, you know what? You brought that to my attention, to be fair, because that is so true. Like the long-term plan there isn't good. I mean, I think Silva was always going to be a shorter term. He was always going to be a 1-2 years because of his age. He was supposed to be the kind of guy that comes in, steadies the ship, teaches the lads what to do, and, leaves within a couple of years and becomes a bit of a cult hero. That's always right. But when it comes to Christensen, Rudiger, Asby's also kind of getting on, but you can't see him going anywhere else at the moment. It's hard to understand why they're not on longer contracts. Rudiger, and again, it's a weird one because these players, Rudiger especially, like maybe a year ago, no one thought Rudiger was going to become one of the best centre-backs in the league, but under Tuchel, I mean, I certainly didn't think it anyway, but under Tuchel, it's kind of rocketed up and he's incredible now. So it's a bit of a weird one, really. I think for me, it's a no-brainer. You've got to give someone like Rudiger a good contract. Christensen the same. I think regardless of what Paul Scholes says, Chelsea's defence is our best asset. Chelsea's defence is one of the best in the league. We need to keep a hold of it. We've always been based on good defences. And the second a couple of these players drop out of it and we have to start panicking and getting one or two in, maybe bringing a younger lad through, it's going to start to go south. And that's where you might see some cracks in our system. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Give these boys what they need and get them on a contract for me.
No, I agree. The thing is, we discussed this the other day. Again, I can't remember what stream it was and with who it was, but we were talking about it. And what I said about Rudiger at the time is there a number? Because if we hear 200K, of course we're all here. Just give it to him. But say he said that he wants 300K. Does that then change things? Or are we still of the opinion where we're like, just give it to him because he's one of, if not the best defender in the league currently? And because the Premier League is by far the best league, that automatically makes you the best defender in the world in turn, which is mental to think about. But it's true. Like, who else got to be better? Bloody PK? Not exactly. Or Ramos, who hasn't played football in about 7 months. Ramos has played like 4 games in 2021. Like, that's mental.
That is weird.
And one of them was against us and he was awful. So, off you go. But see, the Rudiger thing is just because I said it, like I said the other day, if this was what Di Marzio said the other day is true, I'm like, okay, do we keep playing him? Do we bench him? Now he wants to stay. But what I also said is the problem is kind of the situation that you touched on there, Jay. That's why I'm bringing it up again, because a year ago or more than a year ago, we didn't, like, Rudiger was 5th choice centre-back at Chelsea Football Club. And at the time, he obviously had just under 2 years left on his contract. And that's usually when we extend contracts. But obviously, because he was 5th choice centre back, even had we offered him one, he wouldn't have accepted one because he was basically on his way out at the time. So, the fact, and now think about it, he was 5th choice centre back behind who? Zuma and Tomori, who have now both left us. So that was not very worth it, was it? But hey ho, we move. But you said it there for Christensen and Rudiger. But just before I get over to Ian, does it matter for you what number of wages they want, or is it just like, they've played so well, it's kind of like an almost like, hey, just leave an empty dotted line for them to fill out? Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think with Rudiger, it is almost whatever number. Obviously, you can't be getting ridiculous out of it, but I think Rudiger's so good right now that it kind of has to be, what do you want? With Christensen, it's a little different. He's still a bit younger. He's class, but he has more time ahead of him. He could have a peak. He could come down. He can go up. I don't think it's the same for him. Give him a better wage, of course, because of what he's contributed to this team, but it's not any number for him. But I think with Rudiger, yes, it is kind of like, write a number down, mate. Don't take the piss, and we'll get through.
You'd love it that way, wouldn't you? You'd love it
Yeah,
that way.
no.
And to be honest,
if I ran Chelsea Football Club, it'd be like that.
exactly. And see, that's why I sometimes question things, because I'm like, we just won the Champions League. We got these huge, like we got Nike a few years ago. We got the 3 deal a few years ago. Why? What's the hold up? Like, I don't understand. It's not like we're not exactly paying crazy wages anyway, like compared to some of the other clubs in the Premier League. Like, look at what Arsenal pay Pepe and Aubameyang, and what United pay half their team, what City pay half their team. In comparison to that, we don't even pay a lot. So it's like, I don't really understand the hold up. And okay, with Rudiger, maybe he could be asking like a lot. Obviously, some of the reports were saying he wants to be on a level with Lukaku, which, hey, in level of his importance, even if you take the first 9 games, fair enough, to be honest, mate. But with Christensen, I can't imagine it's asking crazy money. Just quickly before I get to Ian, let me just read out this super chat by Chester. First of all, appreciate it a lot. Saying, celebrating the birth of my grandson, 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 23 inches. Congratulations, first and foremost. But what comes after is almost as reliable as Di Matteo when it comes to news outside of Italy. Reportedly asked for a rare steak and slept an ass on her ass. Big up the panel. Big up yourself, Chester. Congratulations, and I appreciate the donation a lot. But Ian, let me put it to you, especially if we haven't discussed it previously. What's your position on the whole? Well, first of all, what Ollie put earlier, that we have so many players on just, 7 months, but let's say a year left on their contract. But it was in particular of Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen. I don't know exactly what the situation is with Aspie. Are we just so confident that we'll just do that when we're done with Rudiger and Christensen and focus on him then? Because let's be honest, he's not going to try to go elsewhere. He's probably not going to ask stupendous money the way we know Aspie. So that's probably going to be fine. Chalobah, probably a similar situation. And with Thiago Silva, it probably just depends on how his body feels by the end of the season. And if it's good, he'll probably be happy to stay, and we're happy to keep him along. And if he's struggling by then nearly 38, then he'll probably leave, I suppose. But Rudiger and Christensen are obviously the 2 big ones. So how do you feel about those situations? And do you think do you agree with, I guess, myself and Jay, it's just get it done. Like, don't put yourself in a position where we are basically down on 2, 3, 4 centre-backs come next summer.
No, I don't actually. Rudiger is a fantastic player. He's 29 years of age by the time the end of the season comes around, 28 at the moment. The problem isn't about how much money he deserves in terms of per week. It's probably about how long for. That's the big question. And I obviously kind of pulled a face when Jay was saying about no one predicted Rudiger to be one of the best centre-backs in the league. Everything I've seen from him since he's been at Chelsea screams that he is a top quality centre-half. He just needs the right leadership to go with it. When he was playing in the back 2 with Christensen and Rudiger, they were both crap. And they both need a little bit of leadership, a little bit of guidance. With Rudiger, it's a bit more because he's a bit more. The word erratic is coming into my head, but it's not the right phrase. He's a bit more physical. He's a bit more energetic. He's a bit more kind of hands-on, shall we say. Needs that calm head next to him. With Christensen, 25 years of age, probably needs a little bit of guidance going through as well. Someone like Aspie next to him, Thiago Silva, they'll be massively benefiting, of course. With Christensen, the problem is the number. It's the number of how much. Because if you go and give him the earth now on a 4-year contract or a 5-year contract, in 3-4 years' time, we're going to be looking at it and he's going to be going, well, I want more because I've done more for this club and I deserve a pay rise. And you're going to
just interject. What's too much for Christensen for you now?
For right now, I mean, what is he on? Sorry, I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. To be honest,
we think he's around 100 grand a week, probably a bit more.
I probably presume less, to be honest, because it's a while back that he signed his last contract. If I said
150 to 180k, somewhere like that a week, ballpark.
I think he'd be good with that. I think we've offered him probably like 120.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. I think if you gave him 150 a week, then I think it would be fine. Because if then, again, years to come, if he does really, really push on and really does progress, he's on 90, okay. So if you probably gave him 150, I think he'd be absolutely fine with that. And again, give it for a 5-year contract or whatever. But you know that in 5 years' time, he's going to come back, or probably in 3 years' time, he's going to come back and go, right, I want more. I want more. I want more. And then it depends on performances and is it worth losing him because of that. But with Rudiger, it's a lot more simple. It's, I'm going to get you for probably 3 more years at the absolute peak. If you want anything more than that,
well, you say that.
You don't know what you're going to get towards the back end of it. Because I'm not paying for it right now. A 5-year contract is 5 years long. I love Rudiger. I think he's quality. But someone like Aspi, we're all saying here, we just expect him to sign a new contract and it all be happy days and he kind of walks off into the sunset when he's done with the Premier League. And we all go, oh, my God, I loved him. He was one of my favourite players and retires a legend. But what does that mean for Rudiger? What does that mean for Christensen? Thiago Silva won't be there. These guys have got to step up. And it's basically, have you got the confidence in them to step up to the next level if they don't have that leadership there, which is not, for me, it's not worth 250 grand a week for either of them. Rudiger definitely deserves to get paid, just not probably the wages that he wants. And I remember when it originally came out about the contract talks, is he realizes this is probably going to be the last big contract he gets, which I completely understand. I completely get it from a business point of view, but it doesn't actually mean that we have to give it to him. The only problem we've got is that he's only got 7 months left on his contract. He can walk on a free where we should be getting a transfer fee for him if we didn't ever come to an agreement about the pricing. So I would get Rudiger done first. I'd make sure that's my priority. With Christensen, I think there's more to negotiate. I think there's more to have a little bit of a wiggle room. But for me, get Rudiger done early doors.
I would agree. The one counterpoint I would make to what you said about our 3 years at the max, Thiago Silva is 37. And look at him playing. I'm not saying Rudiger.
Of course, yeah.
I'm not saying everyone is the same. I'm saying not necessarily will Rudiger be done by the time he's 32. To be honest, how many centre-backs are done by 32? You probably get at least until 33, 34 out of him. But I definitely see what you're saying, and I see your argument that you made at the beginning where it's less about how much, but more about how long. I get that counter-argument. What I will say about what you, in terms of defining him as a player, I think since Tuchel has come in, and I think also this whole period, what we discussed with Jay earlier, where he was fifth choice centre-back, that period of, even under Lampard, before Lampard was ever sacked, fighting his way actually back into the team, which, people like to forget. People like to think, only when Tuchel was back did he actually get back into the team. But no, he already managed that under Lampard. Sure, maybe different circumstances because Tomori had an issue and, I don't know if there was another injury then at the time, but still, he managed to fight his way back into the team. I think all these things, plus getting older compared to when he joined us, like you said there, the leadership next to him, I think he is now, not fully, he's not Thiago Silva, he's not Aspi, but I think he's now also that leader that Christensen needs next to him, because we've played big games with Rudiger, Christensen, and Reece James in the back three. Like, that was our back three for the Champions League bloody final. I know Aspi was the wing back, but after Thiago Silva had to come off after like 20 minutes or whatever it was Rudiger, Christensen, and Reece James as the back three. And we didn't exactly struggle now, did we? So I think Rudiger has now also become that leader. I also read a quote earlier today where Tuchel, described him as that. So I would give him a lot of credit. And I see what you're saying, but it's just.
I will just say very, very quickly. Is leadership is two things. It's the big, loud, vocal person who wants to lead their team and encourage and motivate and be the calm head and whatever. But it's also leading by example in terms of performances as well. So you can be both, or you can be one or the other. And Rudiger is definitely lead by example, do his job, do it to the best of his ability. Is he going to be the calm head that we need? No. That's my only bit of a concern.
No. I agree with that, but does he need to be? Like, not every player needs to be the calm head, if that makes sense.
No, of course. But again, you do need the calm head on the team, which I don't think we've got.
I think as well, a good question to ask ourselves is, how long is the back three going to last? Because throughout time, back threes, sort of get found out, don't they? And you need to adapt it, and you will need to adapt eventually. I'm not saying that it's going to happen anytime soon. We look solid. But we will eventually need to adapt and maybe move to another back four system like before. So then you kind of have to ask who's going to fit into that system, who's going to drop out of it, who's going to have more importance than the other, that sort of thing, don't you?
I agree. That is a fair. It's weird, really, that back three thing, because we won the league with it. Then it kind of got found out. Then we had a manager that didn't play a back three in Sarri. And obviously, we were at least playing good football. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Then we had Lampard, which worked for a while and then stopped working, and kind of switched. Sometimes played a back three and it worked, and then sometimes played a back three and it didn't work at all. And then Tuchel comes in and it works again. So while you're right, it got found out and then we had to change. We didn't win anything the Europa League. We didn't win anything domestically once we changed to it. right? So it's like, so did change to the back four even work, or should we have just always stuck to the back three? I don't even know. I still think now a back four is better, but we just smacked the team 7-0 in a back three. I can't exactly sit here and criticize the bloody system, can I? As bad as Norwich were. But you make a fair point. The thing I just think about next summer, just think about we lose even just Rudiger. You know how whoever we try to sign as a replacement, because then you're not just talking Koundé, and I'll get to the Ligt in a second. You're talking more experience. And you know how anybody would try to sign from would hold us so ransom that it's probably way cheaper to just give Rudiger a new contract. Like, we also have to think about not just how much money do we have to give Rudiger. It's also how much money would we have to give someone who we'd sign instead of Rudiger. Because if that's not cheaper, plus transfer fee, that isn't any helpful either now, is it? And that isn't any positive. And I mean, what Ian said there, sure, Christensen will probably ask more in a few years, but in a few years, the way football's going, we'll probably make even more revenue, so we can comfortably pay more money, I guess. So in that sense, I will just get up Jester's comment here, just because he's, like he said there, trying to play devil's advocate a little bit. If we go to back four and these two, Christensen and Rudiger, are they the players we want? He thinks so. I'd probably agree, because I have never seen Chalobah play in the back four, so I couldn't tell you. And Thiago Silva, by the time we change to it, will be 38. So I'm probably not going to want to back on him. So if it's from the players we have, it has to be those two. Because, like I said, the one guy's going to be 38. The other one I've never seen in the back four. And anybody else would have to sign. So out of the ones we'd have, it is probably those two, I suppose. But any reactions from you two? I saw a kind of a pull of the face from you, Ian, there.
Yeah, no. They're not the players I would want in the back four. Because we've seen it previously. We've seen the FA Cup final, they got annihilated by a crap.
But we've also seen both be bad in a back three under Conte, and now they're great in a back three. So couldn't they just be
again,
in
the back three, you've got two people to cover.
Yeah.
In a back,
but aren't they the ones
you've
covering?
got one person to cover, and if that person's out of the game or is equally as shit, it's curtains.
No, I'm not even saying. No. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm saying I just think we don't know in terms of how good they'd be in a back four at this moment in time. But let's get back to what I actually did end up putting in the title at the last minute. What also Nizar Kintela reported on, also a few other outlets, that we have been offered Matthias, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it in Dutch, De Ligt. Obviously, Dutch centre-back, 2 years ago, the most hyped player in all of world football, alongside De Jong probably. And now nobody really cares anymore. Half the last season, he was not playing because Bonucci and Chiellini was playing. Now he is playing, mind you. But, Juve. I mean, they had the worst start to the season in like 63 years. I know since then, they've sorted themselves out a little bit, but still. But apparently he's on 280 grand there. I'm not sure of currency in euros or pound, but that's apparently what he's there, with big bonus clauses that if they reach certain targets, his wages go even higher, or his bonus, his money earned over the year, I suppose, goes even higher. We apparently offered that. We'll probably tell him to get lower wages. But just in general, before we talk, let's not get caught up on wages about De Ligt. Let's just talk about De Ligt as a player. Would De Ligt as a player be someone you'd be interested in, Jay?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't think I've seen too much of him to really have a clear indication. I think he, like you said a couple of years ago, he was so wanted by everyone. He's decided to go to Juve. Not had. I think we had bigger expectations of him at Juve than when we first thought. So, and I'm probably not. I don't think so. I think I'd prefer to have our defenders now, just keep them for a bit longer. I think some of our defenders are starting to peak right now. De Ligt isn't there yet. And I think if we want to keep up this high performance that we're currently at, I don't think we need to start changing it too harshly like that. I think we need to keep what's working. If it's not broke, don't fix it, that sort of thing. So I'd say no.
I see what you're saying. I will, as a follow-up question, basically, obviously, we were heavily interested in Jules Koundé in the summer, and that obviously was meant to happen, but then it didn't happen, which is, by the way, also why I was so confident that all of Rudiger and Christensen and Aspie and all of these lot were basically about to be done, because I thought otherwise we'd have been way more after Koundé and made sure that we got that done if there was any threat of these contracts not getting extended, just so we don't put ourselves in the position we just spoke about where any club could hold us ransom next summer. But if you compare Koundé and De Ligt, now Koundé had a great season last year, and obviously playing for a club like Sevilla, he's great, he's quick, he can play multiple positions, potentially more suited to back three than De Ligt. side of the Ligt in the centre, but in the centre is where we have Christensen. So unless Christensen leaves, do we need the Ligt? Probably not. Sure, you could probably play the Ligt either side, but would that be his standout position? I don't know. But would I prefer him to Koundé? I don't know. De Ligt is certainly more of a leader. You know, if you're talking about what Ian was speaking about there, what we might lack. Now, he certainly is that. I mean, the guy was captain of Ajax at 18? Like, did you see his speech above the Ajax fans when they were on this little balcony after they won the league? I'm like, that guy's not. At the time, it was like 19. I'm like, no way that guy's 19. If you're asking someone at 19 speed, that's mental. So, yeah, and even when he plays for Juve, like he acts a little bit like a leader. Like I said, last season there was times where he didn't play. But I will say, yes, you're right, Jay. He probably didn't quite develop as we probably all expected at Juve. But it was also Juve under Pirlo. And they were just dreadful, full stop. So how much of that is down to him not developing as we would have liked, or how much is that just to Juve having a bad year? I don't know. Ian, how do you feel about De Ligt? Would he be someone you'd be interested in?
Love him. Absolutely adore him. Taking wages out of the situation, taking that it's Juve out of the situation. If he was standing there right in front of me as a footballer and I could go and pay money for him, I would. He's a fantastic player. However, he is young. And sometimes the experienced head is what you need. So it's all great having this really, really young team. And it did work at times, and it has worked for Chelsea. And that's great. You do need that experienced leader and that experienced head just to calm things down and just to move the ball around and be in situations that you've been in previously and then learn how to deal with them. And, I mean, De Ligt is a fantastic footballer, but at Ajax, he was never really in any tough situations, you know, in terms of, real down and out, back to the wall kind of thing. They got knocked out of the Champions League by Tottenham, and they should really have gone through. That was a last-minute thing, so they were never really in any pressure there. He hasn't done it at Juve in terms of the pressure and the situations. So he needs to go and learn and develop. Whether we could do that, that's fine, but this is where the wages start to come into it. I don't want to be paying, probably close to £250,000 a week, or 250 euros or whatever it is a week for him, because we don't know what we're getting. In terms of a footballer, I can tell we could all talk about him as a technical footballer. He's fantastic, but
yeah, in terms of getting a centre back that can play out from the back, we'll be fine if we get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a case of, another thing that I think we really need in terms of directly comparing Jules Koundé to De Ligt, we need height. We need height because we can't attack a fucking set piece to save our lives, and if we can't attack them, we're going to struggle to defend them. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain that Matthijs De Ligt is bigger than Jules Koundé, who I'm pretty sure is about 5'10".
Let me Google it.
Also, Jules Koundé is 5'10", and I'm sure Matthijs De Ligt is over.
With De Ligt as well, he has been a good point for him. He's been learning off two of the best centre backs of the past decade. You know what I mean? He's been.
That is true.
You're with them every single day, working and training and learning off them. That's got to be a good thing. You know what I mean?
The only thing I will say to that as well is we're going, oh yeah, he's been learning off them. We've got no guarantee that he's learned anything because we haven't seen him. That's the only bummer. But
yeah,
I mean,
what I heard this season, he's been like the only good defender. Well, maybe now that they've sorted their form out, but at the start of the season when they were really struggling for results, how I heard it was he was their only good defender, and like it was more Bonucci and Chiellini struggling rather than him. But if that is true, and I don't know if his agent is Raiola, then he can get straight into the bin. Because if we didn't deal with that for Haaland, we're not going to deal with it for anybody else. I just say it straight up. One thing I will say, I think what we need to remember with De Ligt here, the guy's 22. Name me one centre back that's better than De Ligt at 22. Like, you're not comparing. Like, we're basically in our heads comparing him to Rudiger. Rudiger is 29. Think of Rudiger at 22. He was playing at Stuttgart. Very different. Or maybe he went to Rome already by that point. I don't remember. But, certainly not where he is right now in terms of his career. But De Ligt is this level. Whether you say he's not starting over Bonucci and Chiellini, like Jay just said, two of the best defenders of the last decade, of the last 2 decades, potentially. Fair enough if he didn't get a start in there at 21, in a way. It's just he got so hyped that kind of people forgot how young he is. I think the guy's 22. Like, if you would sign him, even if he's not perfect yet, he's still great, I think. and if you could keep him, you'd have a starting centre back for the next 12 to 15 years if you signed him. So that is something to consider to some extent. Sure, probably give it 6 years. It would be in a similar situation as with Rudiger. Well, should we give him that new contract for the big money that he wants? If he
wants $1 million a week.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean, hey, Bastoni is one. I can't lie. Not seen that much of Bastoni, but also one thing I will say, Bastoni has had one season. Did he not? Was Bastoni even relevant the season before last? I don't think so. At least I hadn't heard of him until last season. And I'd certainly heard of the Ligt a while longer before that. That's just what I'll say. I mean, Chalobah, yeah, he's 22 as well, but I'd certainly back the Ligt over Chalobah. As much as I love Chalobah, I still think the Ligt is quite significantly better defender and player right now than Trevor Chalobah. And that's not anything against Trevor. Trevor hasn't had the same level of footballing experience as Trevor Chalobah, obviously playing for, who was he at loan for? Huddersfield? And then obviously at Lorient last season in Ligue 1. So not quite the same level as Ajax and Juventus now, is it? And playing Champions League finals, obviously, with Ajax even. So, I mean, if anyone, Araujo, yes, but he's the only one that Barcelona have to have any sort of faith in. So he's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So, I mean, yeah, Levi Colwill, but are you going to tell me from someone playing well in the Championship, you're going to compare him to Matthias de Ligt? Not quite. Like, I'm not saying he can't be great, and I'm not saying he won't be great. I like him from what I've seen of him. But it's not quite the Ligt. So it's a tough one for me. The fact that we've apparently been offered him is a big red flag in the first place, in my opinion. When you're offered a player, you should probably always say no. Look at Man United now with Ronaldo. That's not quite working, is it? We'll get to United in a second, guys. I don't know. Hey, I'd like Jay. I'd prefer to just keep Rudiger and Christensen, just tie that down. Same with Azpilicueta. To be honest, I'd happily give Thiago Silva another year's contract. Make sure you give Chalobah a new contract as well, and then see, do we feel like we need another centre back, and then see what centre back do we need. Are we going to stick to a back four? Are we going to change to a back four? Are we going to stick to a back three? And then which side of the back three do we need someone? Does it suit more someone like Koundé? Does it fit more someone like De Ligt? And then decide. Don't make decisions on who we sign next summer in October. That's the first thing. But just get these contracts done, man. Can't be whatever it is. How are we top of the league? Do you know what I mean? One of the best positions in the league we've been in God knows how long. And what we're more worried about is our centre-backs leaving. Like, how is this even a conversation to be had? Like, we just won the Champions League. We're top of the Premier League. Why is even anyone contemplating leaving us? Just give them the bloody money, sort shit out, and get things done. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Damn right.
There you go. Let's for a second talk about Manchester United yesterday, because that was quite funny. I went to the pub with a Liverpool fan mate of mine. We sat down, was watching it. I was kind of hoping for a draw, maybe for United win, just because it'd be funny. And also, if United won, it would make sure Ole keeps his job and they drop more unnecessary points the week after. But in the end, Bruno missed an absolute sitter, which I hope Man United fans talk about more, because they clearly haven't, because they should have been 1-0 up. How he smacked that so far over is real bad.
I actually forgot about
that. If Timo Werner did that, all of England would be laughing at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Or let alone if Mason Mount did it. Imagine that, all the Phil Foden, stands will come out of all their pockets and say, "Look at him," or the Bruno fans, all the same. But in the end, they got battered 5-0. Yeah. Salah scored a hat trick. Ronaldo scored one offside goal. Brilliant. And otherwise was awful, other than should have been sent off. Like, they lost 5-0, even though VAR was on their side, because Ronaldo clearly should have been sent. Like, he just kicked him in the balls. I know there was a ball in the way, but he still kicked him in the balls. He knew full well what he was doing. You could even argue Bruno Fernandes should have been sent off with a 2-footed tackle on the sidelines. And then Pogba did get sent off. They could have had 3 red cards on the day. Sure, maybe the other ones don't happen if the first one's given, fair enough. But it was very funny. It was very funny. Ian, I know you made a video about it, but like, that's crazy. I mean, some people were thinking that United were part of this title race. I think we can all agree they're not part of this title race.
They are until they're mathematically out of it, but
yeah,
it's not Norwich.
I mean, I went quite harsh in my video I did about Man United. They can't defend. They've never been able to defend. The last 10 years, they haven't been able to defend. I got into a bit of an argument with the guy in the comment section that one year they conceded 28 goals, but they didn't win the league, did they? That's the realist. That's the realism of it. Is signing Sancho for £78 million was useless, was wasted, was completely irrelevant, or what I actually went for. Ronaldo is doing his job. He's there to score tap-ins. He's there to, get those goals that maybe you don't expect to, him to get, hanging a ball up, something that Cavani maybe wouldn't have done. So I'm not gonna, badmouth Ronaldo at all in terms of that, in that regard. But Man United's problem for years, they've tried to pin it on different people. Tried to be David De Gea. Oh, he was a bad goalkeeper. We had to try and face 50 shots a fucking game. So, of course, he's going to make mistakes. Of course, one or two are going to go in. And they did. And Man United still, for the last 4 or 5 years, have not been able to defend. You look at the Europa League final, the goal they conceded in that was abysmal. Shocking. And yet, yesterday, we had those same two people that started the Europa League final starting yesterday against Liverpool, who are, of course, a fantastic team and are potentially very likely to be right up there in the title race. But they just are, Man United just are an absolute shambles at the back. And although they're signing Varane, they need more help. And let's be honest,
he's injured.
He's injured every single fucking week. So, you might as well not giving him any money at all. You might as well not have paid him at all. It's not his fault. I mean, he's gone there looking for a contract and he's got it. But that's something that Arsenal do. Arsenal give players contracts that don't necessarily deserve them. But, the Man United team of years gone by,
did they pay Sanchez?
A million miles away.
350k, or was it more than that what they paid Sanchez when they signed him from Arsenal?
Not a clue. They are, but they just, as a club, they just have no idea what direction they're going in, and they actually had a really good thing going with Jose, and they won the Europa League, and they won the League Cup, and they won a handful of things as well. But they just always have lacked defensively. They've always lacked defensively, and now all of a sudden here we are. Jose got the best out of, I think it was Chris Smalling and Phil Jones played at the back.
Yeah.
And apparently he was the issue, give them a little bit of funding, a little bit of money, and they might have done something. But they're not going to. They spent the money very, very poorly. They spent 85 million on Maguire, who's a good player, but it's not 85 mil. Both your fullbacks want to go forward. David De Gea is a goalkeeper, and you've got two people in midfield who are incapable of playing midfield. So, what we expected.
I mean, you say that about Maguire. I don't even think Maguire would be any of our first 5 choice centre backs. It's like, honestly, I firmly believe that. Let me put it to you, Jay, because I know you need to head off in just a second. Now, first of all, on United, anything obviously you want to add on that defeat, please do. But myself and Ian are going to discuss in a little bit more detail in just a second. For you now, that we're 9 games in, it's all very tight at the top. Who, in your opinion, is now the title favourite?
Just quickly on the United thing, it's funny. My mate from uni, he's a Scouse lad, and his cousin is Curtis Jones. So like he was like, Ronaldo's kicking my cousin, and he was like celebrating it and stuff, which I just thought was hilarious. And yeah, that result was just hilarious as all. But title race, we spoke about this on our podcast today, and it's such a difficult one because my mate he's a Spurs fan. He said to me that Liverpool and City scare him more than Chelsea do. He says that Chelsea have maybe a fault in them and more faults in them than them two do, because obviously those two are huge. And I said to him, but who's at the top of the league right now? Who's pulling through? Who's pulling out results where maybe we kind of didn't need them, like shouldn't have deserved them, but got the points anyway? And for me, we aren't at our full best yet. Yes, we beat Norwich 7-0, and that should be our full best. But no, that's a terrible Norwich side mixed with a great day at the Bridge. I still think there's more in this Chelsea team. I think we have a real good shout, and I think this might be the closest title challenge in a long time between Chelsea, Liverpool, and City. And I'd be wrong to say that we aren't good enough for the title, because we absolutely are. I think we have the defense to sort it out. We have some brilliant young attacking players to help us get across the line. We are definitely one of the favourites, and fuck it, we are with the favourites. We're winning it, boys.
Come on, that's the spirit.
Right.
I love it. Jay, as always, well, I say as always, it's been your first time, but as always, for potentially in the future, I appreciate you a lot for coming on. I know you are a busy man, so I'll let you go. Myself and Ian will continue this chat, and then we'll also speak about Chelsea Southampton. But it's the League Cup. Even though Ian is a big fan of the League Cup, it's still kind of less important than potentially losing Rudiger and Christensen and Tiny the league than, potentially win the Premier League. But yeah, Jay, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it a lot. His link is down in the description to his YouTube channel, the back post. So check that out. But yeah, Jay, thank you for coming. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Cheers, lads. Thanks for having us.
Jay.
Bye-bye.
I'll go as well if you want me to. I mean, hey,
no, please stay, because I do want to speak about this here, because, and I will say this, I didn't expect Liverpool to smack Man United a new one, because it seemed like a typical game where Man United would pull one out the back that you didn't see coming. That's what I not necessarily win, but I didn't think Liverpool would win, or at least not like convincingly. If they'd win, I thought it'd be like a scrappy win, maybe lucky win. But no, because that's usually what Ole does. He's very bad, except when his job's on the line. And that's usually when he pulls one out the bag. Yesterday, didn't pull one out the bag. It got put in the bag. It didn't work out well for him. And I will say, before we talk about Chelsea, we have ourselves, and we'll talk about Man City too. I have to give a little bit of credit to Jurgen Klopp specifically because there's not a lot of managers that go through a bad spell like they had December, January, February of this past year. First of all, keep the job, number one. If that happened to a Chelsea manager, be gone. I can't lie. But then sort it out within the season to still scrape top 4 by the end, number one. And to actually be a title, like, I can't lie, I thought the title this season would be between us and Liverpool. Between us and Man City. I never thought that Man United with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer were going to be a serious threat. I can't lie. And I just didn't think Liverpool would be quite this good again. But seemingly, they are quite this good again. Sure. If Van Dijk gets injured, they're back in the mud. But Van Dijk, there's obviously, until he does, they can probably compensate. Maybe Fabinho, but Fabinho didn't even play yesterday. So you can't even say if he gets injured, they're in the mud. He didn't even play. Mane didn't even bloody play yesterday. The only big concern and why I think Liverpool will not win the league is because for about a month to 6 or 8 weeks, they will not have either Salah or Sadio Mane because they'll be offered the African Cup of Nations.
Yes.
And I don't think they'll win enough games in that period to win the league. But still, I think credit to Klopp to get them back to here compared to where they were last February. Fair play, honestly, fair play. But how do you see it? Obviously, like, we can see it here on screen. I'm not sure if it's big enough for you to actually see it.
Yeah, no, I got it, yeah.
Fair dues. Obviously, as everyone can see, Chelsea on 22 points, Liverpool on 21 points, Man City on 20 points, West Ham 4th, fair play to them, on 17 points, Brighton 15. To be honest, how are Spurs 6, man? Like, they've been also awful. How are they 6th? On 15. And then only then is when Man United turn up with 14 bloody points, and goals against 15. Imagine having conceded 15 goals. We've conceded 3. That's mental. But how do you see it now at the moment? Obviously, I know it's October, and I know you can't say, oh, we're going to win the league or they're going to win the league and be fully certain. But now when you look at the teams, do you see what other people say, that Liverpool, Man City look more threatening than we do?
I wouldn't say more threatening. I wouldn't say that. I mean, going back to the Jurgen Klopp thing, I'm a massive fan of Klopp. I like him. I like what he stands for, and this was the thing. Obviously, we have this second culture. Liverpool didn't want to have that, and they stuck by a manager who they firmly believe in, and he got them through a difficult patch, and now they've come out the other side of it. And it's credit to them, massive credit to them. As much as it pains me to credit Liverpool, it is credit to them. The problem I think that we've got in terms of going for the title is that a lot of people go, Chelsea got the best squad in the league by a mile. And we don't have the best squad in the league by a mile. We probably have the best squad in the league in terms of depth, but is it the best squad by a long way? No. Liverpool's squad is fantastic. It's a brilliant squad to have. You look at a world-class goalkeeper, world-class fullbacks, world-class centre-halves, world-class midfielders that don't even get on the pitch. They just have got it on lock. They have got it on lock. We've got it as well. That's fine. The reason I would say that we've got an edge over Man City is that we've got different ways of playing. You look at someone like Bobby Firmino yesterday, comes in, wants to just be the assist king. It's almost like playing as a false 9. If you don't work out with him, you can play Jota. If he doesn't work out, you play Mane. You've got different ways of playing that little front 3 and whatever. And it's nice to see. Chelsea, we can go for Timo Werner, Kai Havertz as a false 9, Mason Mount as a false 9. That happened the other day on Saturday. We've got different ways of playing. Where with with Manchester City, they haven't necessarily got that. in terms of Liverpool going for the league, the African Cup of Nations is going to be a big problem, and that's where I would probably give the little bit of a slight advantage to Manchester City. But I do think this is Chelsea's title to win, and I would go against that. They look better and whatever, because I mean, you look at the last 5. They've both dropped 4 points in the last. They've both dropped 4 points in the last 5 games. Where although we lost, we've only dropped 3. And
obviously they played each other in that period. We'll have to give them the credit for that, but still, gone.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at us. I mean, I think Liverpool are quite like us. They've played a fair few of the top teams already.
But they played them all at home.
We all have, actually. I think we all have. Yeah.
Obviously, Liverpool played all of these big games at home, which is a bit of for them, with Anfield being a significant advantage, more so than other clubs, maybe. We obviously played Liverpool away, but Man City at home where we lost. But we played Arsenal away, we played Tottenham away. We certainly had the biggest amount of big games from all of these. Now, I guess Liverpool now have Man United, but judging by yesterday, how difficult is that really? You can paint it different ways. See, the Liverpool thing, I think, in terms of starting 11 plus 2 or 3 extra, they're incredible. After that, significant drop in quality. Way more than ourselves and Man City have, in my opinion. They have 4 in the front 3. After that, it's curtains. They have 4 in midfield. After that, it's curtains. Maybe 5 if you want. But Thiago is almost like mentioning Pulisic. He's barely fit anyway. So sure, they have him, but he's never fit. So what's the point? And then at the centre backs, just because he was good for Leipzig, we've seen that. Timo Werner was good for Leipzig. Let's not get hyped. They've got Konate and pretend he's now the best centre back in the world.
Of course, yeah.
We
didn't see any of him yesterday, did we? Let's be honest. So
no, exactly that. They've got Van Dijk, who is probably not quite back to his best yet, but he's still great Van Dijk, right? But they have Joe Gomez, who in my opinion, Liverpool fans drastically overhyped. They have Joe Matip, who's only good because Van Dijk's next to him, because we saw how he was like when Dejan Lovren was next to him, and they were both awful together. So I'm not saying they're bad, but I just think their attack bails them out many times.
Cool, yeah, of course it does.
Salah is so clinical. And I'm not even saying that they outscore teams, but just look at yesterday. United had the chance to go 1-0 up. If they do, that game goes very differently. But their attackers didn't take the chance. Salah, and for 9 times out of 10 Mane, they always take their chance. So even when they're struggling, you just shift the momentum of a game because they take chances, and that, in my opinion, bails them out more often than it should. And then you see a game like Brentford. They conceded 3 goals against Brentford. And Paul Scholes said they're better than us. How are you taking the Michael, man?
And this is the thing. I mean, as much as, again, simplistic, goals win games, and it is also about not conceding them, and it's a whole team game. But if you can get goals out of nowhere, which is essentially what Man United were trying to do with Ronaldo, that was going to win them games of football that maybe they weren't expecting to go and win the same way. Liverpool are a good side. So are we a good side. Man United, when they want to be, are a good side. They weren't yesterday, but they are a good side. All these teams in the top, especially, I'm not even taking the piss. I wouldn't say Arsenal in this. I would say all of this top 9 can be good sides. Brighton have obviously turned up. That's fine. They've had a couple of good performances. I don't quite know who they've played, fixture lists and various different things. But, I mean, all these teams can score goals. I mean, if you look there in terms of goals against, 14, 15, 13, 9, 10, and then the others are respectable numbers. I mean, the ones that are respectable numbers are the ones that have got a chance of winning the league because they just don't leak goals. And they've all scored. Again, you look at the top scorers, they're all the teams in the top 3. These are the best 3 teams in the league. It's fact. It's no other way of saying it. And although, Liverpool have conceded 6 compared to Manchester City's 4, they're ahead of them because they've scored 27 goals. They've scored 7 goals more than them. 5 of them come against one of the top teams yesterday. You have to give credit where it's due. They are one of the best teams in this league. But in terms of going right the way forward, the African Cup of Nations is going to make life more difficult for Liverpool. Of course, we can all accept that. But it's also going to make life more difficult for us because we're not going to be able to rely on Edouard Mendy. We've got to play Kepa. It's not an instant dub. It's not one of these things where we just turn up and stroll it. We have got to have a fight. And the other thing as well, it depends on what happens with the Champions League group. We could get knocked out of the Champions League. We've also got to play the Club World Cup. There's so many different things that could go wrong for us. But this is where the squad comes in. And our squad is better than Liverpool's. And I've seen a couple of people in the comments saying that I basically don't know what I'm on about and they haven't got depth. They have got depth. It's maybe not as good as ours, but our depth is only strong if we use them regularly and they actually come off the bench and come into the games.
Which,
and
to be
make
fair, they have been doing the last few games.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you look at Malang Sarr, for example. He played one game in the league and he had a fair few clearances. He wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination,
But he was decent.
He got the job done. I mean, if Malang Sarr didn't get the job done on that day, then our squad depth is irrelevant. And this is the thing that you need to consider. This is a team game. It's a whole squad game. Very cliche shit that I'm saying here, but it's true. And Manchester City squad is fantastic. They're lacking in one area. Liverpool squad is fantastic. They're maybe lacking in a couple of areas. Our squad is fantastic. We are lacking in a couple of areas. No one's perfect. At the end of the season, one of these teams will be up there and we'll go, oh, they were brilliant. They deserve to be champions and blah, 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 blah. But this is pressure. We dealt with the pressure in the Champions League last year. Liverpool have dealt with pressure in the Champions League and winning the league a couple of years ago. And Manchester City have dealt with pressure. They always do. It's big. It's high stakes football here. It's high stakes.
Just really entertaining.
It's completely totally exciting. And it's going to be a great joy to watch. And I don't want to sit here and go, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. All of these teams, even West Ham, if they really wanted to, could go and put a massive run of games together. I doubt that they will, but they could.
But if we win every game from now on 1-0, we win the league.
Of course we do.
So
do you think it's going to happen?
Not 1-0, a few 7-0s in there.
Oh yeah, one or two to make it a bit more entertaining. But no, you look at the Brentford game. It's a prime example. Should we have won that game? No. Did we? Yep, 3 points. Thanks very much. We should have lost that game, actually.
Should we have been out of sight of Brentford in the first 70 minutes? Yes, we should have been.
Because we dominated them. We created 5 chances.
No, we didn't create. You're right. I'm not saying in terms of chance, but the way we dominated them, we should have created more and comfortably been out of sight. And that's what I think Jay was touching on earlier. We're not even at our best, and we're still top of the league. Liverpool, clearly, judging by yesterday, are at their very best. And Man City, to be honest, aside from maybe the game against Southampton where they got away with it because they should have not only drawn that, they should have lost that game. With obviously the penalty should have never been taken back. I still don't really understand how that happened. But they will have bad spells too. And then we'll have to wait and see, will they be able to grind it out as well? Or will, like we have now for a couple of games, or will they not be able to? And that's why I firmly back us because, I mean, hey, I've said this about many strikers. I've said this about Torres when he first signed. I said this about Morata. I probably said it about Werner for a while, even though I kind of changed my mind on Werner quite quickly. And I'm saying about Lukaku now. There's no guarantee that Lukaku will come good by the end of the season, or by Christmas. But hopefully he does. And when he does, we just have, in my opinion, more threat than Man City. And we just have a better squad than Liverpool. And that's what I think we are slightly favourites. But I am obviously a Chelsea fan and potentially slightly biased. Just one last question before we get to the Southampton game tomorrow. Obviously, we don't know if this is going to happen. But if Manchester United get Antonio Conte, which the Telegraph have said he is interested. Obviously, they haven't sacked Ole yet. But if they do, chances are they will probably try for Conte. Although, to be honest, knowing Man United, I wouldn't be surprised if they think Zinan's better, just because he's a bigger name. And he was way worse than Conte, in my opinion. So let's just presume Conte. Do you think that's if they did that now, would that be enough to get them back into title contention, or is it too late?
No, they are not going to be in title contention anytime soon because Conte will want to play a 3 at the back, and Man United cannot defend to save their lives. They've got the fullbacks to do it. Did you see Luke Shaw yesterday? Never seen a worse fullback in my life. But again, if you allow him to go forward and do what he's best at, then brilliant. Yeah, that's what he does. And again, every England fan, I watched them all throughout the Euros. Every time that we saw Luke Shaw do something brilliant, it was going forward, scoring the goal in the final. It was all going forward. He's not the same player defensively, and that's that. You can have these players; it's absolutely fine.
Which is why Ben Chilwell should be playing over him because he's at least, I'd say, as good as him going forward, but way better defensively.
Yes, completely agree. But again, you want to see the flashiness. You want to see all the big, high selling moments. It's not defending; it's going forward, and that's what Man United get massively sucked into because it's a business. I mean, you look at in terms of. I'm going to go into NFL very briefly here, but they own Tampa Bay Buccaneers, same team as Man United, same owners. On their offense, 15 times better than their defense last year in terms of names and star power. Now, this year, they've had to pay some people and eventually it's kind of leveled out and they have got a fantastic defense. But everything they wanted was the best player ever to play in the NFL. They went and signed him. They gave him receivers who can catch the ball and do stuff for fun and get open. They want to make that stuff easy. They want to make it camera highlight reel kind of stuff. And they did, to be fair to them. They really, really did. They can't do that at Man United. That's what they've attempted to do with Cristiano Ronaldo. They still can't defend. It's not that easy. And it takes away. It's not a case of the same as American sports. Defense is one thing, offense is another thing. You look at Trent yesterday coming forward for the second goal. Rashford just let him go. That's the problem Man United have got. They just can't afford to do it.
Let me ask you one thing. Sorry to interrupt you. We couldn't defend under Lampard.
Yep.
Identical squad. From one week to the other, we were the best defensive team arguably
We
in the
changed
world.
system.
No, but Conte would do that too, wouldn't he?
Yeah, however, we have the squad depth to do that. Who's Man United's fourth choice centre half?
Phil Jones, isn't he still there?
Well, I think it would be Eric. I assume he's still there. I'm pretty sure Eric Bailly's there. Is he still?
Yeah. But I presume Bailly, Lindelof, and Maguire would be the back three, and then who'd be the fourth?
Well, I thought it would be Varane if he's back in. That would. Be
I forgot about Varane. Yeah,
that would be
true.
it.
So they do have 5
who's
centre
fifth?
backs and can play Van Bissaka right back in the back three, I suppose, because it's probably better there than a wing back.
Yeah, then who's going right wing back?
Don't know.
There we are.
But he made Moses be a good right wing back.
That's the thing that Conte had with Chelsea. When he came in, he had the summer transfer window. We signed Alonso and everyone went, why? We had Moses and he went, I'm going to convert you into a wing back. And it was very obvious what he was going to do very, very quickly. It's not the same situation as what Conte had at Chelsea. It was what it will be with Man United. And that's because he's coming in mid-season. Conte will make them better. But to be title contenders from a losing position like this, I mean, they have to make up 8 points on us. And we've conceded 3 goals all year. It might be nothing to do with how good Man United are. Sometimes there's just the damage is done already. And I think if they were going to have sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think they would have done it sooner rather than later. I'm pretty sure they would have done it last night or this morning. I mean, the talks are coming out that the talks are being held and different things are being discussed, as it should be, as any decent club would be doing. However, if it was that bad, it would have been done. I don't know who they play next. I don't know who the next game is in terms of in the league and whatever. Quite frankly, I don't care. But
they play Tottenham next week. I know that. I don't know who their midweek game is.
And then after that would be international break, is it? I'm pretty sure.
No, I think I have another one after that. Another game.
Yeah, no, we do. We do. But again, international break. If you went and lost, just hypothetically, if you went and lost 5-0 to Liverpool at home, I don't know whether they play Tottenham home or away. They play Spurs, they lose to them, and then they have maybe a week between losing to Spurs, start of the international break. That's where you bring in Conte. Because it doesn't make a difference if you don't win the game going into an international break, because you're already going, we've got a new manager, it's just a complete change. Then you've got
I would also say work. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree
City, after City, he's gonna get sacked. I'll call it right now.
Because it's no point before, because they're going to lose those anyway. So you might as well not bother.
Unless you've got this guy solely in mind going, right, I'm going to sign Conte and we're going to build and we're just going to go, I don't care about the first 2 results. I don't give a shit. Just go and build the team and make it better. But
I will say, two things I will say. Number one, Conte was great for us. The league is very different now. 2 reasons. One, we didn't have international football, meaning we had all week, every week, to work on our 3 at the back system. Man United do not, unless they somehow manage to come fourth in the Champions League, which, hey, it's United. I wouldn't put it past them. But probably not, right? So, first of all, they don't have that. Number 2, that was Pep's first year, and Klopp was still kind of trying to get rid of players that, Brendan Rodgers signed. And people hype up Brendan Rodgers. I'd kind of be a fan if United somehow get Brendan Rodgers out of Leicester, because he's good. But again, it would... Just for the fact that I could imagine them being there for a title shot, not this season, but next season, and then bottling it just like Liverpool did under Rodgers. But I think just because they signed Ronaldo, they're more likely to get Zidane anyway. If they can convince Zidane to come just because of Ronaldo, they'll get Zidane over Conte. Because imagine Conte and Ronaldo. That would give it Christmas. They'll get rid of Conte again because it will have exploded.
Yeah, and I think Ronaldo, it's going to be again. It's going to be focused on going forward. They need a defensive coach. You can say to Ronaldo, "Do what you do best. Do what you do best. Get in the box, score goals. I need you to probably press a little bit more, but just focus on doing what you're best at and playing to your strengths. You deal with you. You're 36 years of age, 35 years of age, whatever it is. You'll be fine. Yeah. You need to work on going that way, and that's exactly what Buddy Zidane can't do. You know, they'll give it a go, but it's not what he does. That's what Conte does. That's Conte. That's the best bit about Conte.
Conte would make them a lot more better than Zidane would, without a shadow of a doubt. It's weird.
Should we run Man United? I think we would smash this. This would be well easy. Give us Ronaldo, and then we'll sign Conte, and we'll be fine.
I reckon we just send an email to the Glazers, say we should probably do the job of Woodward. We'd probably do a great job.
I mean, I've got to go to the post office tomorrow, mate. We can have this. We can script it down. I can take it.
We can have this done. Hey, you just say you're also fans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, we could run both at the same time. Why not?
Yeah, to be fair, that would be a laugh. I would make them suffer.
There you go. Exactly that. Just one last thing of Ronaldo. It's like I'm not sure how you feel about it. It's the way I know you. I wouldn't be surprised if you think Ronaldo is better than Messi. And this is not as a dig. This is, I don't know. It's just the way I heard you speak about certain things. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Maybe I'm wrong. But just regardless, for people that, especially people that are very heavy, he's the GOAT, he's the greatest ever. He's come back to the Premier League. Look at Messi go to the Farmers League. And always, his body is so amazing. He's 36. I'm like, well, if his body is so amazing, why is he not running more? Mm-hmm. Why, like, if he's basically like he's 26 still anyway, why does he have the low pressures of anybody? He's still 36. He just doesn't run except when he tries to score a goal.
You know, the whole Messi or Ronaldo debate, they're the best two ever to play the game, and you've got to love one or the other, and blah, 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 blah. There's a reason why I don't get involved in that debate. I never say which one I prefer.
Okay.
There's a couple of reasons. One is because I don't care.
Okay.
The reason I don't care is because I don't think either of them are.
But who is?
I'm not going to say, because that's that. See, this is where it becomes interesting.
Now you have to say it now.
I can tell you off air. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
Who I generally think is the best footballer ever to play the game. They have not achieved what they should have achieved in the game, which is why people look at me like I've got fucking 5 heads or something when I say that it's neither of those two. But I mean, for me, it's a technical game, football. If I had to pick one, I would say that Messi is better, only because I think he's better technically. But what Ronaldo brings to the game is just an absolute joke as well. So it's too harsh in that. But again, Ronaldo's body, I completely agree with your point. If his body is that good, and again, I'm a football fan before I'm anything. I'm a football fan. If Ronaldo turned around just like that and went, well, fuck you lot, I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to go and prove you all wrong, and did it. It would be one of the greatest things I've ever seen, I'm sure. Yeah. But the likelihood is that he isn't, because there's so much more to football than just about winning the game of football anymore.
Although I'm not sure if that's in Ronaldo's head as well. I think in Ronaldo's head, the only thing that matters is scoring goals and winning a game. That's the only thing that he cares about. But hey, we've spoken about plenty of not off topic, but different topics. Let's get to actually Chelsea playing against Southampton in the Carabao Cup tomorrow evening. In what is it? The 4th round? 5th round? 4th round, I think?
Something like that,
I think the 4th round. The big question is, which we'll never know, is what type of team Southampton will turn up with. I don't know if we'll ever know, like I said. But that is obviously the big question. But it's impossible to judge for us. What we know is that Brozier can't play, which is a positive. What shot did you just get out, mate? There you go, the Carabao Cup. I thought you were trying to hint who's the best player of all time.
I have got one of his shirts. I do have one of his shirts, but there we are.
Do you? Fair bit.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I almost can't wait to be done with this stream so you can tell me. Let me just get this lineup thingy up so we can actually discuss who we would like to see play tomorrow, just because, like I said, we can't really judge what Southampton are going to do. So, hey, just play the best team we can without overdoing it, and then try to win the game. Because we've spoken about this before, Ian. I don't really care. But now that because of this,
I love it.
Can you hear echo? I can hear myself in your microphone.
Can you? You shouldn't be able to. Hang on, let me turn myself down.
Is it just me? I can't hear myself now. Seems good. Maybe it's just my computer a bit weird. Anyway, I would love the League Cup, but if we don't, Would that be the end of me? Probably not. Obviously, now that the Club World Cup has been moved to another time, to early 2022, it will not at least hit fixtures, like collide fixtures of Club World Cup and potentially a Club World Cup, Carabao Cup quarterfinal, semi-final. So that's a positive. But hey, if we get knocked out and we save ourselves some games, you save some fitness to go for a Premier League or Champions League, I'd probably back that more. But still, any individual game that we go into, we want to win that individual game. So that's what we're going to discuss. Now, there's a couple of things which are pretty certain. For example, that Kepa's going to be in goal. But I think the big deal is, just before we get into the individuals, do you expect a lot of rotation, or do you expect it similar to how we had it in the last cup round where we played Villa, where it was rotation, but not like stupid?
I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Southampton fan at my graduation the other day, and he expects Southampton to rotate massively. He expects to kind of go out at this round because they've got a lot of league fixtures coming up that are all winnable, and they need to pick up points sooner rather than later. So James Ward-Prowse can't play, so it will be whoever the first choice is instead of James Ward-Prowse for them. But I think other than that, again, Braga can't play. I think it'll be a fair bit of rotation from them, which should mean that we rotate as well.
I agree. I think we can both agree that Kepa starts and should start, because he needs to get games at some point, especially if he's going to play like 7-8 games in January when Mendy's at the Africa Cup of Nations. So we need to keep him some sort of fresh. But yeah, he'll probably do a good job. I'm not too particularly worried. Now the big question really for the back three is, does Sarr play again or does he not, Ian?
I think I would play him. Why not?
Might as well. Mm-hmm. I think he did well enough against Brentford to not be sat here now to say, oh, no, you can't play him. So, hey, why not? If we're going to rotate, and you never know, maybe Sarr gets so good that we can tell Rudiger, well, actually, mate, we don't need to give you crazy money. We just have Sarr. So, you never know. Now, Thiago Silva played the last game, so you'd presume Andreas Christensen plays tomorrow?
Yeah.
The question is just here, Chalobah, yeah?
I would say Chalobah, yeah. I think he's got the best legs in it, so I think that will come in handy.
Oh, but sorry, we forgot something. Oh, no, forgot. But Azpilicueta was rested last game. Do you think he will be rested twice, or do you think he'll play right wing back if we presume Chalobah plays here?
No, I think he'll be rested again.
I think we should, because we might as well. But
I think he'll be rested again.
Yeah, let's put Chalobah here. Let's get to the right wing back first. What we did in the Champions League where we brought, James on for Aspi after an hour and we brought Alonso on for Chile after an hour? I think that's exactly what we should do with Reece here. After an hour, just bring Aspi on for Reece.
Yeah, that's fine. That sounds right for me.
Fair enough. And then on the left, I know we were talking about it. Was that with you? Yeah, before the Malmo game? No, that wasn't with you. But we were discussing it. Should Alonso play? Should Chilwell play? And I said, just keep playing Chile. And we did, thankfully, because when Alonso came on, he was the worst player on the pitch by a mile, and Malmo were really, really bad. And still, Alonso managed to be the worst player on the pitch. But Alonso starts tomorrow, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Especially as we kind of now expect, after how crap Luke Shaw was, that Chilwell was going to play both games for England in international break. There we are.
It wouldn't be too banking on that with Gareth Southgate, but
So yeah, I would probably say yeah.
Fair dues. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, just quickly, subscribe if you haven't already, smash that like button, and obviously go along with us as we go through the team, whether you agree, whether you disagree. It would be super useful if you could always add to what position you're talking about, because obviously someone I'm just going to call you by your surname, Williams. You say Aspi there. I don't know if you meant instead of Chalobah or whether you meant instead of Reece James. How do I know? So please put it in the chat that you can use enough characters to explain yourself. It's fine. Let's get to the midfield tool, which in my opinion is the most difficult to predict, because after the players that have played, you probably want to go for Saul and Ruben. Probably. But would Saul and Ruben not just be... I don't know if that would work at all. But if Saul doesn't start tomorrow, we probably might as well send him back in January.
I would definitely play Ruben. 100% I would play Ruben. I don't know whether I would play Sam Niguez. Only because when you leave it like that, you're basically saying that he has to control the whole midfield. And if they go and get after him, we could be buggered. So I would actually quite like to see Loftus-Cheek and Kante. I would like to see as the other one.
I mean, Kante was rested the other day, but he was obviously left out because of some muscle fatigue. So I'm not sure how ready he is to play. Obviously, he was said that he's ready. He's in training now, but
I would play him, take him off after 60 minutes.
Okay, let me just clarify one question. So you think if it's Saul and Ruben, Saul would have to do more of the controlling? Because Ruben has obviously played kind of the 6 instead of Jorginho recently. So I'm not sure.
But he's more of the ball progressor than Sam Nguez is.
He is, but I think we'd still let Saul do that part of the job, don't you? If we played them together.
Is he able to?
I think so. Because I would say I would say he's a bit of a ball progressor in terms of the position he played for Atletico. I think that's probably what
he is a ball progressor. However,
not as good.
We just haven't got the confidence in him, and that we haven't got it. We don't know what the squad's like either. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. But
okay,
at least if you play with Kante, it's new member. At least if you play with Kante, yeah, big up. If you play with Kante and Loftus-Cheek, you know that Loftus-Cheek can play the 6 or Kante can play the 6, depending on which one wants to.
Yeah, they probably mix it around through the game. Yeah, which would make sense. But like I said, it's just almost to some extent justify getting Saul. I feel like he has to start.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he has to start as well. It depends on what sort of impetus we are putting on this competition. I'd like to see us go and win it. I'm a personal fan of the competition, so I would play Kante. But I do think.
Would you consider Kante and Saul?
I think
play Ruben on the weekend, for example.
I think Loftus-Cheek deserves a longer run out, and I think that he can actually get goals tomorrow. So I think he deserves it, and I think he's been ready enough to play 90 minutes or close to it anyway, and really start to come into his own. And I think this could be a good opportunity for him. And I think Thomas Tuchel might think the same way.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. I'm just a little bit worried because if you don't play Saul now, obviously we won't send him back in January. But if you don't play him now, isn't that going to ruin him so much that you might as well not have him around? And I'm like, if we have him, we need to also a little bit make sure that if at some point in the season we need him, he's actually ready to be needed. I mean, and I'm a bit worried that if he doesn't play even this game, it's just going to be done. Do you know what I mean?
I'd have played him against Malmo.
I would as well, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think Malmo at home was one of the easiest games you were ever going to have, and I just think that it was a little bit crappy that he didn't play anywhere near enough.
No, but when he came on, he wasn't exactly brilliant either. See, no. I would consider personally, but that's just me. But not because I don't like Kante, but because I don't think Kante is needed for any of these games. I'd be happy to do this and just play Ruben and Jorginho against bloody, who do we play? Newcastle, Burnley, whatever it is next weekend.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Do you know what I mean? Like, as if that's not going to be fine. Like, we don't need Kante against Newcastle. We don't need Kante against a second string Southampton. Do you know what I mean? Just give Kante the rest for his fatigue muscle and play him when we actually need him. And
that's true. I just rate Kovacic highly, though. I wouldn't want to see him again. Same thing. Just
especially with how good he was the other day. You're right.
Yeah. So I would say that's likely to be the midfield too. Although I would probably play Kante and just take him off when the game's won.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's obviously we're more talking about the team we'd like to see rather than what we think Tuchel will do, because honestly, for the midfield too, I can barely predict it. I can't lie. It depends on how important it is to Tuchel to win it. If he's like, I want to win, but if we don't, fair enough, then he'll probably do that. Not for Ruben, but more for Saul to take that risk. But it's a tough one to call. Let me see what the chat has been saying. Saul and Kante seems disastrous for some reason. It's true. It's true. Need our great for ball retention. Rest Kante. I probably would agree. What's the chance of us getting the league, would you say? 15%. If you want me to give you a number, I would currently say 15%. Very, yeah. But it's just, well, we won't get him in January now, will we? So, and the next summer is a long, long time away. So that's why I just don't know. Let's get to the front two. Now, I think the way Tuchel, I'm not sure if you heard the post-game press conference, but the way Tuchel spoke, that's although he's starting again. And also the fact that he subbed him off, to me, says he starts again.
Fine.
Because otherwise, I don't think, why would you have subbed Callum off? Like, surely you would have subbed somebody else off. At the score we had at the time. Do you know what I mean? So I think Callum starts again. The question is just, does Mason start again or does he not? Or is a madness happening and Barkley starts?
Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
I think he will. I think he will.
What's Ziyech? What's going on with him?
I forgot about him.
I think that might be a good place.
Maybe Barkley starts here, like when he.
Oh, could you imagine that? That would be top tier. That would.
I guess you'd probably be a bit more like that then, but
God, what are we making here?
And then Barkley would be awful, so Ruben would tell him fuck off, and Ruben would go forward.
Yeah,
and
we're
Barkley
going
would
there.
play here with Saul, and we could eat 7 goals.
I don't know. That's a very good point actually.
Because the big question really, because Ziyech you presume starts, and Callum, like I said, from what I heard, I think starts. So then the question is just, does Kai start again or is it Barkley? That's really the big.
Do you know,
Kai came off as well.
I don't know if you noticed it in the Burnley, in the Norwich game. Mount actually played false 9 for the last little bit of it. And
you sure it wasn't Barkley in the middle?
No, it was definitely Mason Mount that played as a false 9.
Okay, you clearly had the better view of that than I did.
We all about 15 of us all around me went, why the fuck's Mason Mount playing up front? And then
he did it against Spurs away last season. One of the first few games under Tuchel, we had that as well.
Yeah, I actually like the idea that Mount could play as that false 9.
Not necessarily as his main position, but.
No, God, no. But just for a one-off as
when
we
it's
need
necessary.
Yeah. I think I would. Yeah, I would probably. I think if we did put Mason Mount in ahead of Barkley, I think that would be quite close to the team that we're actually going to see play tomorrow.
I personally
at the same time, this could be a great opportunity for Havertz to get some minutes and get a couple of goals.
I think Havertz is more likely than Mount.
Yeah, I think so.
Just because, Tuchel has said a couple of times, Mount a bit like Jorginho and Lukaku, a bit overplayed, not necessarily physically, but mentally. Obviously, he scored a hat-trick on the weekend. But, if you don't want to overdo it with him, you probably don't play him against second-string Southampton, but you keep him fit for Premier League and Champions League. And like I said, for me, it's just a question, does he actually start Barkley, who came on for Kai, or does Kai start? I'd probably start Kai and bring maybe Barkley or Mason on after an hour. That's probably what I go with because, I don't hate Barkley like some other people do. I'm not a fan of him, mind you, but I really don't need him starting games for us. I can't lie.
Yeah, I think Barkley might be a little bit of a stretch too far for us. But
maybe we should play Chile up top. Guaranteed goal.
Could yeah. Or would that be 5 and 5? Something like that? Yeah,
exactly. God. The question is just, you'd probably still play Alonso up top just because Chilwell would still be better at wing back than Alonso.
Yeah. It would just there'd be no pace up front. He'd literally just be the late arriver like Lampard all the time. That would be Alonso.
Yeah, well, it's like having Giroud up top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lob it in. Bicycle kick.
Yeah, both left-footed, both got strike on them, both decent in the air. It's basically identical.
Yeah.
Alonso up top, Klopp said it here as well. Why not? To be honest, I don't think we're that far off of the reality. One thing I could see potentially that this happens. I could see that maybe. If he doesn't want to rest Aston twice.
I think they'll play Salah.
I agree. I just think, if there is one, the biggest.
If there is one, I think, I agree. It would be that.
Yeah. And Havertz, Barkley, probably. Or Mount. I don't even know at this point. Lukaku posted today an alarm clock type thing as he got like a physio on his leg, on his ankle. An alarm clock and something which sounded like kind of back soon type thing. So who knows? I'm not saying for tomorrow, but I'm saying maybe he's actually ready for the weekend or soon after, and then you can obviously just keep playing Kai if it isn't so many games that he has to start. So I guess that could be that. VJ for Sports, big up yourself by the way, saying Barkley could be like a dynamic presence on the wing for us in the last 5 to 10 minutes. Oh yeah, for sure. Barkley could do a lot of things in the last 5 to 10 minutes. Look at this bloody pass against Southampton. I can't lie. He's probably the only player in our team that would even attempt that pass. The only other person I could see even attempting it, well, from that position, Mount, and if you'd mirror it and pretend it was on the other side, obviously Ziyech. But Ziyech would never do it on his right foot. So, in that exact position, Ziyech wouldn't. It could only be Barkley or maybe Mount, but I don't think Mount would attempt it. It's just a Barkley thing to do. And also only a Barkley thing to do when he's got nothing to lose. Like, Barkley played like if it was preseason, because for him it is preseason, because he doesn't get enough game time for it not to be preseason.
Did you see that cheeky bastard try and take the penalty off Mount as well, by the way?
Yeah.
He tried to take the first one off him, and then the second one.
The first one as well. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, he tried to take the first. He didn't deliberately go up to the ball, but he said you could see him going. Are you sure you want to take this? Are you sure you want to take this? Yeah, your penalty. Yeah, you sure? Yeah, okay. And then the second one, he went, "Oh, you've missed one. Come on, mate. Yes, give us a crack." And I was like, "Cough, no,
especially the last time he took a penalty. At least the last time he took a penalty in open play. Maybe he took one in a shootout, maybe once at some point. But the last one I remember him taking was the Valencia one, which he skied.
I was in Miami that day, and I was absolutely fuming. So I was talking to these two, they've just sap the life out of you Americans. Those people so what are you watching? I'm clearly watching football, mate. I'm clearly supporting Chelsea. I'm clearly wearing a Chelsea shirt. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. Just and then we missed that. And then they were trying to go, oh my God, that was a big miss. Yes, I know it was a big miss. Go away. So Barkley owes me a lot for that.
That's funny. I said it after the game on Saturday as well. Obviously, he probably shouldn't go up to Mason like, oh, can I take it? But in a way, in his squad situation, the fact that he still has the confidence to do that, I kind of rate it in a way.
Oh, no, he's a knob.
Yeah, I know most people think that. But in a way, I'm like, I kind of respect it that you still back yourself that much. You know full well you have no role in this squad, basically. You still back yourself to take one. I'm like, I kind of rate it.
It's almost like it's almost like you it's a conversation you need to have with the manager. And the manager would just tell you to piss off. Would just tell you, you are not needed here. Just go away. That's why you try and have that conversation with anyone else that isn't the manager. So you've decided to go up to a 22-year-old who is an England international, has reached the final of the Euros, and is basically the heir to the throne of Chelsea. You have just picked the wrong guy, mate. You are not that guy, pal.
Yeah. But I did think it was quite funny. Like, it didn't, at least, there was one time when Tammy tried to take it off Jorginho last season.
Yeah.
And Tammy was a lot more unhappy when being told no than Barkley was when being told no. Like, Barkley was like, oh, fair enough then. Like, Mason told him no. Reece turned up as well and was kind of like, okay, go away. And like,
I would give it to Reece before I give it to Barkley. I'd have given that to Reece James before I give it, yeah.
Especially Mason's penalties weren't good. The first one was real bad. And the second one, like, it got a leg on it. Like, it was the opposite of, cool and collected and a safe penalty.
Genuinely, at Stamford Bridge and Matthew Arden Lower, there was a large consensus of people that wanted Mendy to take that. And you know what? We all go, oh yeah, Mendy. I genuinely think half the people in there were serious, and I was one of them. Just give it to him.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people also wanted Rudiger to take us. He obviously won it because of
I'd have been very happy with that as well. Yeah,
he would have either smacked it into Rose Ed or ripped the net apart. Those two options,
which probably still would have ended up in Rose Ed. Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah. It might have been deflected on, but yeah, that'd have hit Rose Ed.
Exactly. Just as the last question that we're going to discuss here, just because I just saw it, VJ saying Havertz has been getting some stick from our fan base after the last game. Thoughts? To be honest, I think Havertz has been getting some stick for most of the season, quite frankly, other than when he scored against Liverpool. And in some games, you could argue it was potentially justified. After the game against Norwich, to me, that was just, Havertz did against Norwich what Firmino does so often for Liverpool, and Liverpool fans will tell you he's super important to us, and all the other fans will see, well, he's done nothing. And that's a bit what I think Havertz did, because people won't like to hear it, but I don't think we win 7-0 if Lukaku starts. I still think
I agree with you on that.
3 goals, but I think then we win 3 or 4-0. Lukaku might get nearly all of those goals if he starts, and we still win convincingly, but I don't think we win this much. And I think a lot of that had to do with Havertz's movement, because Norwich was so busy always defending Havertz that Mason and Callum were always free. So if Havertz doesn't move around as much as he did and press as well as he did and, make sure he gets into decent positions, the others are under more pressure and then don't find it as easy as they did. So first of all, I know there's been plenty of players I've had a go at. Timo Werner, Giroud, few others over the years that I've had a go at. But in general, at least I don't insult players. I don't abuse. I just say you're awful. But that's the extent of it. If I think you're awful, I think you're awful. That's it. But even I've reeled it back for Timo Werner. So people should definitely. If I can read it back for Timo, people can read it back for Kai Havertz, I reckon. So that's what I'm probably going to leave it on. But just quickly, a score prediction from you, Ian, for tomorrow. I know you're not the biggest fan of score predictions, I think, but.
Yeah, I'll go for a 3-1. I'll go for a 3-1. Same as in the league game, I'll go for a 3-1. I see us going 2-0 up, then getting a goal back and being a little bit worried about it, and then we just go and get a third and kill the game and then accept defeat, I think.
Yeah. I reckon. What am I going to say? It's just a score prediction is so difficult to do before you know the opposition's lineup.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess, knowing our lineup, because if we rotate, because the thing is, I mean, I've closed it now, but we've used so much of our squad that this squad that we've come up with wouldn't even be like stupid rotation.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not even playing as 18-year-old that's never played. Like, maybe we could make a case for Junsu Bell start up front. Like, why not?
Exactly. And Bayamba playing at the back, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. We discussed, maybe Christensen doesn't play either in Bayamba, but why not? But at the same time, with that team, I do expect us to win. And presuming that Southampton will rotate, I'm going to go 2-0, 3-0, something like that. I just don't think we'll concede if they rotate. But if they don't rotate as much, then I probably back your 3-1 or 2-1, something like that. But I think we're going to leave it here. Ian, thank you very, very much for coming, as always. His link is down in the description. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, check out his video that he did about the Liverpool United game yesterday. It's quite funny. I enjoyed them. I try to watch them as much as I can when Ian puts them out. So check it out. Link is down in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. So get subscribed. Every single new subscriber counts. Just one click of a button. And, you could not miss any of these streams because they're enjoyable for you, for me, for the guests, for everybody involved. So smash that like button as well. Let's make sure we get over 100 likes. We're pretty close, to be fair. So smash that like button. Let's get to 100 likes right now. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and I'll see you next time.